The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
All right, Steven asked, what topics are we diving into today? Let me give you a little bit of tease. How about this? Should Tennessee's receivers be more to blame for the lack of super efficient and productive passing game? Yes, but it's not all their fault. Also, things to work on during the bye week. Kalen DeBoer, also Alabama's head coach, takes only one question on his coach's show and basically shuts that thing down. Probably not a bad idea for Kalen DeBoer, because I imagine the tenor of the future calls was not going to be what he wanted to hear. Also, Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams. While I would tamper and reach out to him, and it's because of a certain thing that he did after getting beat by Tennessee that either shows that, yes, he is still a 17-year-old child, or that he secretly would like to play for the Vols. But through covert channels, I'm reaching out to the Alabama freshman wide receiver to see if he would be interested in taking his talents to Knoxville, Tennessee. Stat of the day. Also, we will get to this day in Tennessee sports history. James Franklin at Penn State is in a heck of a situation, refuses to comment over rape allegations. We all know what happened there at Penn State. This is one of those stories that starts kind of small, much like the Joe Paterno thing, and could end up exploding on the Nittany Lions. And don't think for a second that the College Football Playoff Committee wouldn't take something like that into account. Will West usually joins us on a Thursday. He's feeling under the weather, so we'll get with Will next week and hope he feels better and better and better. But we're loaded up on the program. I start with this, Caleb Calhoun. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm good. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up button so we can bring more people in here and into the comment chat room. Smoky Mountain Red says, I'll take it. Yes, I would take Ryan Williams in a heartbeat. He doesn't even turn 18 till after the season. Have you heard that he's just 17 years old? Have you heard that Billy Napier is detail-oriented?
You know, I did not. You're telling me some things I've never heard before, Dave.
The other one, as it pertains to Tennessee, where the media just beats something over your head because they think that you're an idiot. Did you know that Josh Heupel really likes to run the football?
Oh, yes, they do beat that one. My favorite in college football history, though, Dave, is because it turned out to be the most untrue thing ever. Joe Paterno doesn't just win; he won with honor.
Yeah.
Remember Penn State's phrase, "Victory with honor."
That's a good one. That's a very good one. And there's plenty that you get beat over the head with. But the one that I don't want to hear anymore, well, is the detail-oriented Billy Napier. I didn't buy that from the get. I mean, what's better, saying that this head coach you just hired, like Josh Heupel, has a great offensive mind, or that this other guy is really good with Post-it notes? And the other thing that I don't want to hear is Tennessee is really a running football team. If you have even been a casual SEC fan, you have to know that by this point. If you don't, then I've got to wonder what in the world is wrong with you. And so let's go ahead and get to today's tough question, because I don't do this a lot. I could every day because I tend to get hyped up about certain things. But this is one I said, Caleb, I feel like I need to say this. I feel like it needs to be said because I sat in with Tyler Ivins on the Tyler and Will show from 3 to 7 on the Sports Animal yesterday. And I just don't sense the excitement that Tennessee should have after beating Alabama and Florida in consecutive weeks. And let me get to that right now. It's today's tough question, and it's brought to you by Banks and Jones.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Colton, I agree with you there. I see you. All right. Any super chats you want to throw in there goes to Quincy Calhoun's college fund, but you may not want to contribute to that fund after I rail for a second on some Tennessee fans that aren't as educated as our fans. Our fans are like the Ivy League of fans. That's why we love them, and we love you hitting that thumbs up button. But being in Knoxville and being around Tennessee fans, it is befuddling to me that there is not a greater sense of excitement about what this team has done. Forget about what they may do and make the college football playoff. Perhaps Nico hasn't turned a corner. Perhaps Nico is average. Perhaps Kentucky out-physicals Tennessee like they did Ole Miss. Perhaps Vanderbilt even surprises the Vols. Perhaps Georgia beats Tennessee like most people think they should. But take part in the poll question if you don't mind. Are Tennessee's fans' expectations too high? Yes, the Vols just beat Bama and Florida. Celebrate that. Or no, they should have beaten them. I'm in the minority, 3-1 right now. But I think what you just witnessed, regardless of what happens, is legendary because you beat two rivals back to back. I'm well aware that Florida isn't the Steve Spurrier Florida back in the day. I'm well aware that Nick Saban's on TV and not on the sidelines. But Caleb, that is still two teams that have given you fits for different reasons. It seems like Tennessee was better than Florida half the times they played them over the past 15 years, or at least as good, but they didn't get the result most oftentimes that they wanted. Alabama's been Alabama, and I know they have a lot of transfers, but that's still a very talented roster. I just don't feel like, and I'm preaching here for a second, so bear with me. I just don't feel like Tennessee fans realize how far this program has come in just a couple of years. And the fact that Caleb Calhoun and I are talking about Josh Heupel being one of the most coveted coaches. Nobody said that about Butch Jones, Derek Dooley, Jeremy Pruitt. Tennessee is in a whole different realm here. And Caleb, no matter what happens the rest of the season, I'm not saying it's a success if Tennessee stumbles and loses 2 games down the stretch, but I'm here to tell you right now, and you pointed this out, they're one running into the punter play away from being undefeated and the top team in the nation, debatably. So what's going on? And I want to hear from you on the chat board specifically as to fans around you. Are they happy about what Tennessee did? Because it seems like around Knoxville that Tennessee's fan base was happy for a couple of hours on Sunday, and then it was just back to business, which I get if you didn't have a bye week. But there's a bye week. This team should be celebrated for what it's done, and I just don't get that feel from the public, Caleb, and that's troubling to me. Enjoy the good times. You've had to put up with too much.
You're right, and this is battered Vol syndrome kicking in, because I can tell you this. We had Philip Fulmer on yesterday. During Philip Fulmer's peak, I mean at the peak of his career, Dave, and you were covering Tennessee during that time, it's not like they didn't have to squeak by to beat some teams that they should have beaten by quite a few points, right?
Correct.
And did anybody care, or did they say, oh, that was a thrilling SEC game? They said that was a thrilling SEC game. To give you guys an example, 2003, Tennessee beat Florida and Alabama that year on the road. I don't know if I don't know. Well, 2001 they beat Florida and Alabama on the road too. But yeah, 2003 they beat Florida and Alabama on the road. Dave, that was a bad Alabama team. That was Mike Shula's first team, all the aftermath of the probation, and Alabama was 4-9 that year. Tennessee needed 5 overtimes to beat Alabama. Nobody walked away from that game saying, oh, Tennessee's in serious trouble, struggling with a bad Alabama team. What they said was, what a thrilling chapter in this epic rivalry, a 5 overtime game, and Tennessee wins. And everybody freaked out, and then 2 weeks later, they go and beat Miami at Miami. So obviously, it wasn't anything to worry about. Guys, we say this all. I don't know. One, in college football, there's more parity now than ever before, so it's much easier to pull upsets. 2, I don't know if you guys saw Florida last week, but Florida is a much better team, and when they faced Tennessee, they were a much better team than the team we saw get draxed by Miami at the beginning of the year. 3, and this is the most important thing, they're rivalry games. Teams will you throw out records on this. Do you think Alabama cares that they needed a 4th and goal from the 135-yard line last year to beat Auburn? And that was a bad Auburn team.
No,
So,
and Caleb, I'll give you this too. And it was posted on the message board by Smoky Mountain Red. We're strutting around. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with being competent, but it's some of the fans that are out there that are still like, I don't know what happened with Arkansas, and they won ugly, which I don't think it was ugly at Oklahoma. I thought it was beautiful football. And they had a struggle to beat Alabama and Florida. I mean, if that's where you are year in and year out, then you are going to win a national title. You are knocking on the door this year. You were knocking on the door in 2022, if not for the Jeremy Banks fiasco and what happened in Columbia and Hendon Hooker getting hurt. This is what you want to be. And Caleb pointed out yesterday, Alabama's great teams that won, 7 championships, only went undefeated twice.
and one of those was a COVID year.
Yeah, losses happen. Close games happen. That's a fact.
Absolutely. And here's what I think this is about. And maybe I can accept some blame for this, guys, is maybe I got you guys a little too hyped. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not wrong about how Tennessee is 6-1 right now, because one, I thought they'd be 7-0, but how I thought they'd get there, I thought was going to be Nico Iamaleava. I think there was so much excitement about the special play of Nico Iamaleava that when the drop-off happened in Power 5 football, I think people got a little deflated. And I think there's a level of excitement of not only would Tennessee win, but they'd win exciting. And truth be told, they haven't won exciting. They've been winning in some ugly football. And you guys are right. I've seen people on the message boards. But to the point of like anything can happen, that's true. Liberty was in the college football playoff race as the Group of 5 team. They were undefeated. They play 0-5 Kennesaw State, who I don't even think is Division I, and they lose last night. I mean, it's college football. Crazy stuff happens.
It does. Okay, so let me give you this as a reason why you should celebrate. And don't celebrate on Sunday. Then it's time to move forward as a fan base. And we're not going to talk about celebrating on Monday as we join you live each and every weekday at 10 a.m. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. So I've got 7 different coaching beginnings. I got Kirby at Georgia. I got Saban at Alabama. I got Saban at LSU. I got Harbaugh at Michigan. I got Urban Meyer at Florida, James Franklin at Penn State, and Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Josh Heupel is 33-13 in his 46 games, which, considering where Tennessee was, is pretty impressive on its own. Now, Caleb, absolutely. I'm going to share with you where he stands among those other coaches and their origins at those individual programs, and it stacks up quite favorably. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones, T. Scott Jones, Banks. Okay, so Derek says take away the first season, then look at the numbers. No, don't even have to do that. I put them in the message board. It's still darn impressive. You should celebrate this. Josh Heupel is 33-13 in his first 46 games at Tennessee. Kirby Smart was better, 36-10. However, would you and I both agree with no transfer portal and a pretty good roster from Mark Richt that was only missing the big uglies, that he had a much easier job than Heupel, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, I mean, he was basically 5 or 6 big uglies away from competing for championships when he walked in the door.
1,000% agree. No, okay. 1,000% agree.
Nick
I don't
Saban,
think there's a debate on that.
Nick Saban, best coach ever, right?
Correct.
38-8 at Alabama. So that's better. I'll give you that. But what about Nick Saban at LSU? First time in a big-time program, so much more comparable to Heupel. The exact record, 33-13. Jim Harbaugh at Michigan through 46 games, 34-12. He won a national championship. Urban Meyer's Florida Felons, 37-9. Again, that program was better set to win right away than Tennessee was. James Franklin at Penn State, 31-15. Plays nobody in the Big Ten other than Ohio State and Michigan. Dabo Swinney. People forget the term Clemsoning. Do you remember the term Clemsoning, Caleb?
I actually do not remember the term Clemsoning. But
Clemsoning was losing big games. That's what Clemson. Oh, they went out there and Clemson that game. It really bothered Dabo Swinney. Why? Because he was 29-17 in his first 46 games. Again, Josh Heupel is 33-13. So I'll leave you with this. Tennessee fans, enjoy what just happened over the past week, especially with a bye week. Know that you're going to compete for championships. And if it's not this year because Nico's not as advanced as we thought, or there's still holes on the offensive tackle, at offensive tackle, it doesn't mean it can't happen in 2025, 2026. And in all likelihood, based off of those numbers, Tennessee will keep knocking on the door and eventually win a championship.
No, yeah, that's true. I think in college football there's what I call, Dave, and it's I guess you could call it the curse of the second year. And what I mean by that is, I think you and I both agree. I think most people who have studied the history of college football, you usually can tell how a coach is going to be if they're going to work out after their second year. At least you know if they're not going to make it. Like, if you haven't shown anything by the end of your second year, you don't go. If you're going into your third year thinking, man, this is their year, they got to prove it. If they have to prove it in their third year, they're going to be done, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Typically, yes.
Yes. So here's the curse of the second year, though. I think there was a period, and I'm going to say from like 2000 all the way to like 2020, where there was a run of second or third year coaches winning national championships or playing for one or being in the running in December. That was so unprecedented. I think everybody thought you should do that by your second year. And I can just go through it with Bob Stoops winning it his second year in 2000. Larry Coker wins it his first year in 2001. Pete Carroll wins it his third year in 2003. Urban Meyer his second year in 2006. Les Miles his third year in 2007. Nick Saban was competing for one his second year in 2008 and won one his third year in 2009. Gene Chiswick won one his second year in 2010. You guys get the gist of where I'm going on this. I mean, it kept happening. But that's not the way that's not how every coach building a program is going to do it. Kirby Smart played for a national title his second year. He didn't get back to the national title game or even the college football playoff until 4 years later. Honestly.
And I didn't feel like he was close in that second year to Alabama yet. Would you agree with that?
You mean Nick Saban, his second year at Alabama?
No, I didn't think Kirby Smart. You said Kirby Smart played for...
He played for a national... I mean, he did almost win that game. He should have won that game, but...
Yeah, no, I give him credit for that. But I still thought Alabama's roster was considerably better top to bottom.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Kirby Smart Jalen Hurts was not a good fit for Kirby Smart's defense. They throw in Tua Tagovailoa. Kirby Smart just got torched by Tua that game. I guess the point I'm getting at, guys, is look, it's really hard to win a national title. It's certainly hard to be in contention when you're undermanned, and nobody took over a bigger mess that everybody we just named. None of them took over the mess Josh Heupel took over. Even Nick Saban. And Dave, I know there's some debate over like, oh, Nick Saban inherited a terrible situation in 2007. He did not inherit what Josh Heupel inherited in 2021. I would rather take what Nick Saban had at Alabama in 2007 than Josh Heupel at Tennessee in 2021.
If Josh Heupel was hired in January of 2021, and I said at some point over the next 4 years, you're going to be ranked the number one team in the nation, you're going to be close to making a 14 playoff, and you're going to be in great position to make a 12-team playoff because of consecutive wins over Florida and Alabama. Plus, you don't have off-field issues. Who in the world wouldn't have taken that?
No, you're right. I mean, I would absolutely take that. And you are so right on the off-field issues. That's not talked about enough, is it?
No.
Quite honestly.
No. I mean, they could have things melting down right now in Georgia, and it has nothing to do with football. I tell you what, you have got to check out our guys at Peak IV Hydration, South Knoxville and Sevierville. If we can drop that link in the message box, I would appreciate it. Live life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. And if you can't get to their locations in South Knoxville, you can order the patch online. It is awesome. And yes, Harbaugh was a cheater as well to get to that record. Listen, you're talking about Josh Heupel putting together a championship resume. He just doesn't have the ring yet. Now, let's get to another guy who's on the other end of the intelligence spectrum. Chris Stewart just decides, Alabama's play-by-play guy, that he's just going to ramble on about the artificial crowd noise that he alleged.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
I'm reminded of the Seinfeld episode. Perhaps somebody can help me with that. It's when the lady heckles him, who's supposed to be one of Kramer's friends. So then he decides to show up and heckle her at her job, which it was one of the best episodes.
I know the exact one you're talking about. I love that one.
He goes, what? You can't take it? Too much? And this is Chris Stewart, the play-by-play announcer at Alabama, who didn't necessarily double down, but didn't come out and apologize either. Now, he is the one who got things started with the pumped-in crowd noise. Here's what he told WJOX, who I'm sure wanted to stir some stuff up, and good on their part. Said, I didn't think anything about it when I said it. Well, first of all, as a play-by-play announcer, you should be thinking of everything you said. But that's fine. I mean, there are things that I forget on this show, but I put thought into everything that I say. Yeah, it's not just, hey, let's just throw it out there and see what sticks, especially when you're doing play-by-play, which is the most artistic form of broadcasting. What the H brought to you by Medicare Misty, by the way. Open enrollment's open, so you better take care of that when it comes to your Medicare needs. So this is what Stewart said. And somebody with nothing to do decided to go back and find a clip from before our broadcast. I misspoke, but it really wasn't, in theory, off. I said you've got 100,000 and piped in crowd noise, which was not what I should have said. What I should have said is amplified noise, and that's clear. They do it. They've got speakers all over the field, behind our benches, pointing towards the stands. It was extremely loud, and it absolutely adds to the noise level, which was my point, although I may have misphrased, but that's a fact. Here's the fact. Sterl the Pearl handles the DJ duties, but he knows by instructions of the university and the SEC not to be loud when the opposing team has the ball, which is really what we're talking about. We're not talking about when Alabama's on defense. Nothing was too loud then. So I'm sorry, Chris Stewart, you're still wrong. You're still absolutely wrong. Because it was not Stirl the Pearl or piped in noise, artificial noise that affected Alabama. It was 102,000 strong. Period. End of discussion. You come away from that and you say, yes, I misspoke. They do have artificial noise. That's one of the loudest places I've ever been at. Now, if you don't mind, Caleb, I would like to do a quick impression of the very antiquated and outdated pregame that goes on at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Are you ready for this?
Ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Alabama fans, are you about ready to go? Okay, so they get excited. They say, yay. And then you get this. Oh, and you got to go and you got to run it soon. You got to do that. And it's something from Paul Bear Bryant that's so old and the quality's so bad that I've been there 6 times at least, and I have no idea what he is saying. So while you've said they're better with the fans, and I'm sure their fans have gotten younger as they've won more, that's what typically happens. But Chris Stewart sounds like, frankly, he's a little bit jealous that Tennessee has a better home field advantage because of the fans, but also because of some of the production that goes into it. And I credit Danny White and all that for the lights and more. I mean, good for them. It's not breaking rules. You're not piping in noise while the opposition has the ball. That's the only issue.
Yes. I mean, look, I totally agree. And the funny thing is when he talked about speakers, every stadium has speakers. Every single one.
Yes.
You know, and like that was the weirdest thing to say. And honestly, because of Neyland's age, I've argued in the past that their speaker system is probably one of the more outdated ones in college football. Could actually be upgraded in a lot of ways. So
I think they've upgraded that. I think Stirl the Pearl took care of that.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to add to this story because there's another layer to this, which is Josh Heupel responded and basically talked about the crowd noise. And he said that he talked about that yesterday. He said it's a personal insult to Tennessee football fans that this would happen. And Cole Kublik also shut down the accusations, and Josh Pate shut down the accusations. They all were there, and they're like, no, they don't pump in crowd noise. That crowd noise is legitimate. But Josh Heupel himself he called it he basically said, hopefully our fans take that personally.
Well, and he said, too, that you should come back even louder after the off week. You should take it personally. And, well, listen, if Chris Stewart misspoke and completely backtracked, that would be one thing. But Josh did acknowledge it, but he said he hadn't heard of it. I don't know that I completely believe that, but he said he hadn't heard of it. And the bottom line is it was loud before they had all the pyrotechnics and all the lights and all that stuff. I mean, you're talking to somebody who went to Neyland Stadium, and Caleb, I don't think I ever told you this, when I was 12 years old and would sell programs so I could go to the game. For some weird reason, my mother agreed just to drop me off in the middle of this 100,000 people when I was 12 years old. But you could go sell programs, and you got 20 cents per program. So you know what my goal was? My goal was to sell enough to get a Coke, which is 10 programs, and that was $2, and I got a free ticket to the game. That was my goal. And you had to find your own seat, and they were darn hard to find, and it was that loud back then. And that would have been 1986, because I would have been 12 years old in 1986. Guys, that was before they did anything in terms of the in-game production. Caleb, it's just loud.
Yes, it's just a loud stadium. And also the way it's designed, it's a bowl that goes straight up. I mean, by the way it's designed, it's going to be loud. I mean, that's the problem with Georgia. I'm not saying Georgia fans aren't raucous, but there's a empty spot behind one end zone where the noise just travels straight out. I mean, it doesn't. The noise stays in at Neyland Stadium. It's why it's louder. I mean, Georgia and Michigan are probably the two primary programs, right, that have big stadiums and loud fans. But the design of the stadium is going to keep it from being loud on the field.
Right. It's always going to have kind of a glass ceiling. No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
The other thing is Neyland's largely concrete and metal, whereas some other places, they have the plastic seats and that sort of thing. So it's cacophonous. I use my big word of the day. But I just think Chris Stewart should just walk it back. I think he should issue a public apology. Maybe we should do that. New poll question. Should Chris Stewart issue a public apology to the University of Tennessee? And then we will go ahead and draft a letter. We'll create a message board post on our YouTube channel where you can express your feelings about him besmirching Neyland Stadium. Because as a guy that was 12 years old and sold programs, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'm not standing for it. What the H? Brought to you by Medicare Misty. Open enrollment now, no charge for her services. Get with her before it's too late. They close in December. So open enrollment is now for Medicare.
I've been in business actually 19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Do you remember it wasn't that long ago that the complaint about Neyland Stadium was that older people, and I think this ties into our Medicare Misty spot, would say, sit down. You got to sit down. I'm trying to watch the game. You can't stand up the whole game. Ugh. I mean, I would much rather be known for being too loud than what Tennessee was known for. And that was, you had a bunch of older fans who had those season tickets and they wanted you to sit down and shut up. I'll also say this. It was pretty bad under Derek Dooley when I tried to take my family there and my young kids, and the football was so boring. We wanted to move next to the band so we could hear the band, but the football was so boring that there were 3 people there, 2 college-age boys and a college-age female. And let's just say that they found numerous ways to share body fluid because they were on something. I don't know what, meth, acid. I'm not a hard drug guy. Maybe you are and you could help me. But one vomited and one peed their pants. That's how bad, Caleb, the football was back then. It was just show up and see what happens. And
what you're saying is there's a line between being raucous. There needs to be a happy medium. You don't need to be. There's a line between being so insanely obnoxious you just create chaos, like peeing in your pants, but you also don't need to be, as the kids now say, you don't need to be very demure or very mindful.
Those kids didn't care about the game. They just thought to themselves, let's do this new drug and let's go with a big group of people, and it'll be trippy and it'll be awesome. And no, now the fans care and the students care, and that's saying something. I just listened to an interview with Rob Manfred of Major League Baseball, and he is tracking how much younger their audience gets. Guys, you almost lost an entire generation. My son has never seen Tennessee football be good until the past few years. And now you're getting that back. So it's exciting, and Chris Stewart can step off. All right, stat of the day is what, Caleb Calhoun? And it's brought to you by our good friends at Double D Piping.
Stat of the day, and Dave, you're going to love this one. Tennessee's defense has forced more turnovers than it has allowed touchdowns this year.
I saw that. Give me the numbers, brought to you by Double D Piping.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best.
How many sacks has Tennessee given up?
You mean touchdowns?
Touchdowns has Tennessee given up?
They have given up 8 touchdowns on the year.
How many turnovers have they forced?
11. Yeah, that's right, guys. That's right,
nasty.
kids. This
That's
defense.
nasty. Is that better than Tennessee's offense? offense was in 2022?
Is that better than Tennessee's offense was in 2022?
Is Tennessee's defense better than their offense was in 2022?
Oh, that's a topic for next week. That's a really good
Maybe we'll
question.
save that.
That is a really good question.
That's good stuff. Why Tennessee's receivers haven't been getting as much blame as they should for Nico and the passing game's lack of explosiveness. More after this day in Tennessee sports history as well. Stay tuned. And then your thoughts on Chris Stewart. Should he give the Vols a public apology? Yes, he should. Off the Hook Sports with Calhoun and Dave Hooker, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
I've been in business actually 19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at NFC1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford and Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2024 Ford Maverick XLT all-wheel drive, $31,990. 23 Ford Expedition 4x4 Limited, $66,590. 2023 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew 4x4, $47,995. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Why Tennessee's receivers are as much of the problem with Tennessee's lack of explosion in the passing game, even more so than Nico or coaching, we shall discuss. First, this day in Tennessee sports history, Caleb, is
37 years ago today, the rivalry between Tennessee and Georgia Tech came to a close. They used to play each other every year, guys. It was a rivalry that dated back to really the 1940s, like about 1946. They pretty much played each other almost every year from 1946 to 1987. There were some gaps in between there at different times, but they would play each other a lot, and then obviously it ended in 87. That day, Tennessee beat Georgia Tech 29-15 en route to a 10-2-1 season under Johnny Majors. The two schools wouldn't play again for another 30 years, and that was in 2017 when Georgia Tech outplayed Tennessee in every way but committed like 3 terrible turnovers. One when they just needed to run out the clock, and Tennessee wins 42-41 in overtime, and Butch Jones debuted the turnover trash can.
that still sounds like you made it. Like you just made it up. Like off the top of your head, something just popped in your head and said, I'm going to say turnover trash can because it has alliteration and it's really stupid and I'm making fun of Butch Jones. It doesn't sound like it really happened. Do you realize that?
I know that, but it really happened. He had a turnover trash can, and their phrase that year was "dat way," because that was a song at the time.
I remember I felt really old, and I asked some younger people. I said, I don't get it. am I old? Which then I was what, early 40s? I was like, am I old because I don't get this? And they're like, no, we don't get it either. This day in Tennessee sports history is brought to you by Neubert Collision Center.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert.
All right, Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank, is this. Tennessee's wide receivers are more culpable for the Vols' lack of explosive passing game than Nico Iamaleava. So there you go. Bank on that. You agree or disagree, Caleb? And it's not all their fault. I'm not coming down on them. We'll discuss. But initially, what's your take on that statement?
Yes, but it has a little bit to do with Josh Heupel's use of the receivers.
Okay, so that leads us to the poll question that is brought to you by our friends at Commercial Bank. Caleb, give us an update on the poll question, because we do take Josh Heupel's coaching into effect, as Tennessee has not been explosive offensively. But as for the three options I gave you, I would actually say Nico is the lowest on that chain, although people disagree with me. So what's the update on the poll question on our YouTube page?
Well, our listeners vastly, vehemently, incredibly disagree with you, Dave. They say
Nothing new.
57% say Nico, 30% say wide receivers, and 14% say coaching. So a healthy 70% are saying Dave's just totally wrong. But that's to be expected. But to be fair, you did leave off offensive tackles. I guarantee if you put that on there, they would have been number one.
Okay. Well, I didn't by design. So here we go. Bank on it. It's Tennessee's receivers, and I'm going to tell you why. Brought to you by Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank.
Okay, so a couple of different things. It's Tennessee's wide receivers. That's the problem more than Nico. And here's why. Part of it's not their fault, but it's injuries. Nico would have had a Brew McCoy would have had a touchdown pass from Nico had he not had the hand injury. I believe that Squirrel White would have had an amazing catch against Florida if he's not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to land on my shoulder and I probably shouldn't even be out here. I do believe that he was wary of that and should be. And at some point, the coaches might have to protect him from himself. Dante Thornton has left the game with a knee injury. Now, as to the coaching aspect, here's what we were sold in the preseason. And somebody got on to me earlier today on Facebook and said, why do you need practice access? You get practice reports. Nick Saban's closed practice. And I get all that. It used to be 5 guys that covered practice, and there was an unwritten rule, an unspoken agreement that if you said, hey, I noticed you were playing Jason Witten out wide instead of out tight end, and Philip Fulmer said, well, I don't want that out there. That was the agreement of why practice was closed. So the rule was you asked about it. But practice isn't open now at all, and it's not open anywhere. So this isn't a Josh Heupel shot. But what were we told about Tennessee's backup wide receivers, Caleb?
What were we told about Tennessee's backup wide receivers? I thought they were just rarely talented, but just young and that they were going to stay on the bench because the starting receivers like Brew McCoy and Squirrel White were elite.
But weren't we led to believe by post-practice comments that Tennessee would go deeper into the receiver rotation than just 3? Didn't you think that? I thought that. I thought Mike Matthews would get on the field. I thought Chris Brazzell was going to get on the field even more than he has. Now, I thought Tennessee's receivers, like their defensive line, would go too deep.
Yes, I did. I did think that too. But I also thought, well, no, I didn't. I thought they were going to stick with the 3-man rotation. Remember, we had the debate about this at the beginning of the year about how Josh Heupel likes to keep the rotation short. You were the one who talked about that they should probably, they're too loaded. They might want to alternate every other drive. I think you've been proven right on that. They probably want to use these other younger receivers more because they're having issues right now with the starters. Largely because, let's be fair, Brew McCoy, Dante Thornton, and Squirrel White have all gotten hurt. Squirrel White is a shell of himself right now, and he needs to get healthy. And the other part of this is, I'll just be honest, part of the receiver problem, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say play calling. I don't think they're targeting Brew McCoy enough. I say who cares if he's covered. I think Brew McCoy is that type of receiver that can be covered and will still make a play on the ball and will still be impossible to tackle. He is Jawan Jennings reincarnate.
I think you have two receivers like that. I think Brazel's the same thing. And I go back to that pass, that amazing catch he made against Florida that was out of bounds. You've got to put that ball in play and allow him to make a play at it. So, yes, I think you've got to throw more 50-50 balls their way. I also think that, hey, listen, there was some gamesmanship going on when they talked about how great Mike Matthews was. And we were led to believe that he could be an impact player this year as a true freshman. You want to make him happy so he doesn't transfer. And regardless of what I think, Josh Heupel may think it's just better to play 3 receivers. I would alternate a trio in a couple of times a half to keep everybody fresh, but he knows more about football and offense than I do, so I'll defer to him on that. But the bottom line is, with the injuries, everybody talked about how great Chaz Nimrod was. I haven't been at practice, and nobody has been at open practice to see how these guys are truly performing. But I've seen enough in games now where I don't think Nimrod's of the quality of McCoy, Brazel, White, a healthy White, or Dante Thornton. I think it's a clear step down, and that's fine. But that's not what we were led to believe. And with the Matthews situation, I think they probably hope to redshirt him, maybe. But listen, if you're redshirting elite receivers, you're just not going to get the full complement of what they can do in college, because he does not look like a 5-year college football player to me.
No, he doesn't look like one to me either. I mean, again, Mike Matthews is the type of guy I feel like once you throw him in the starting lineup, you're going to see all of ESPN and everybody talking about him, and all they'll talk about is his draft stock for 2 years when he's laboring at college. He almost looks like a guy, I mean, dare I go here, and this is just what I see from him physically. I mean, I'm invoking like some names like a Marcus Lattimore of what's he even doing playing college football. There's like maybe 5 in history that I've watched where, and Dave, you know there's been a few. I know we all say you should go to college before the NFL for football because it's not like basketball, but there has to be a few players, right, that you've seen that they're like, they shouldn't be in college. They could play in the NFL right now.
Well, I'm going to take linemen out of it from the get, because even if they're 330 pounds, they've got to be the right 330 pounds. So big.
Eric Berry didn't need his junior year.
Eric Berry is one. Randy Moss is another. I think I would have trouble getting past one hand if I counted them. Don't you?
Let's see. Eric Berry, Randy Moss. Yeah, those are the two like clear ones. As clear as day. Marcus Lattimore was one, the running back at South Carolina before he got hurt.
Yeah,
I mean,
Lattimore was one. If I wanted to go way back in time, I could probably say Chuck Webb.
Chuck Webb. Honestly, Jamal Lewis. I don't think Jamal Lewis really needed another year in college.
I don't think he really played in college.
After his freshman year?
I mean, in all honesty, he got hurt his sophomore year, and then he saved himself for the NFL. I thought that was woefully obvious. It didn't affect Tennessee. He's not remembered in that way because it didn't affect what Tennessee did. But Caleb, clearly, he was saving himself for the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And Derek is right. AP Adrian Peterson, absolutely. And actually, to go further back, you may have watched him. I don't know, but I look at his numbers. I feel like everybody knew Barry Sanders could have gone to the NFL after his first year. I mean, that dude was setting records after records in college, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, he made Thurman Thomas leave early. And Thurman Thomas was one of the best all-purpose backs in the history of the NFL. But Thurman Thomas is like, I can't stay on the field with this dude. I mean, that's insane. You know who their head coach was, right?
Was that Jimmy Johnson or was that?
Was.
I thought that was when I thought Jimmy Johnson was at Miami by that point.
No. It's Jimmy. Trust me, I know too much about Jimmy Johnson. I know a lot about trucks. I know work trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for work trucks, cargo vans, utility body trucks with an iPod work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, and anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Truck supplies vehicles to people just like you and get you back on the road tomorrow. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks. That's a fact. Service industry, remember Work Trucks. Work Trucks carries the trucks that your business has to have. I just came up with another one that played at Tennessee that could have gone straight to the NFL. You need Work Trucks, Clinton Highway in Knoxville and downtown Birmingham. For the entire inventory, go online to worktrucksllc.com, worktrucksllc.com. Don't risk chancing your future in business on the wrong piece of equipment. They'll find a perfect truck, outfit it, make sure it fits your needs to a T. Work Trucks with an XLLC.com, proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. Back to our original question, but I do want to offer this. Albert Haynesworth.
A lineman?
Yeah, that's my one lineman. Because when I asked, I can't remember who the coach was, but I asked the coach, I said, the difference, and I know you're really high on John Henderson, but I asked the question, I said, what's the biggest difference between John Henderson and Albert Haynesworth? They said, Haynesworth just stings you every time he comes off the line. And that fast twitch capability, yes, Henderson had it in bundles. Anybody that plays that long in the NFL and or college football has fast twitch. Don't get me wrong, but I think that Haynesworth had fast twitch of like an elite running back type. A couple of super chats that go to Quincy Calhoun's college fund. We appreciate that. Timothy says no creative use of running backs, T or wide receiver passing routes. It's all good. Hello, Mary, and coach needs to have a check down play for Nico. Yeah, and also I think they're learning Nico. Timothy says Hail Mary. We don't need to throw Hail Marys all the time. But I think the sprint out was a very good play. It was a little different from the rollout, which puts the offensive tackles in a bind and they tend to hold. So I thought the sprint out, which led to the Brazel touchdown the Brazel 55-yard pass down the sideline was a big one.
Yeah, no, I think that was a huge one. I agree. And I think they're working things in well. Look, I think they got to buy. I agree that receivers are not getting enough blame. Brew broke off a route on one of them because of interceptions. There's a couple that, a receiver may have slowed or run the wrong route. I don't think we've talked about that enough. But I do think that, again, I think they're going to get it together. I think once Nico stops seeing ghosts, I think once the receivers get healthy and with this bye week, I think there's a very good chance you could see a strong finish to the season with these guys.
No, I agree. And I think it's time for the coaches to be in a position where you know what Nico does well. And I think they kind of threw everything on him as far as being able to run the RPO, being able to run effectively, being able to avoid pressure with two bad offensive tackles, being able to make multiple reads. And I think they put too much on him early. So if I had to rank it as far as why Tennessee's offense hasn't been as explosive, I'm dead opposite of what you guys are on the YouTube page. And I would say wide receiver production, followed by coaches and how they've handled Nico, and then Nico would actually be the last on that. So it's the exact opposite on our poll question. As people want to blame Nico, everybody wants to blame the quarterback. Wide receivers, 25% of the vote. Coaching, 10% of the vote. Nico gets 65%. I think that Josh Heupel would say it's more on him than not. Stay tuned. Coming up, we are going to get into, or do you want to do that right now? Things to work on during the bye week?
Yeah, let's talk about that right now. Things to work on during the bye week.
Here we go. Things to work on during the bye week. And it is brought to you by our friends at TristarHatsCo.com.
4 downs. 4 questions, 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
Downs. A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
All right, here we go. So Caleb came up with these, so I'll tell you if I agree or disagree. First, Cooper Mays, what should people do if they want to be a part of the program?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop. What down?
Coop here. First down.
All right, Caleb, what's number 1?
All right, number 1 on this list is offensive tackles getting healthy and better. I think that's the most obvious thing to work on in the bye week.
Okay, so one of the things you left out is find ways to support them, such as extra tight ends in on the field. I think just getting healthier will make them better, but are you confident that they're good enough when healthy that they don't need much help on the perimeter?
Well, I do think John Campbell can, because John Campbell's shown that in the past. I'm having a hard time believing Lance Hurd as a 5-star can at least hold his own to a degree. Again, they actually held their own pretty well in the second half against Alabama and didn't have a lot of tight end help. I would say the tight ends, that could be part of it, the tight ends getting better, but I'm going to factor in the tight ends to another down on this, so that's kind of why I left them off here. So the real focus is the tackles getting better. Look, if you have to bring in extra tight ends, I've talked to enough people now, you limit this offense and you create more problems.
No, I agree. Somebody else in the box. I would say this. I think that Tennessee needs to have Dane Davis ready to go only at right tackle. You know, he subbed in for a little bit to make sure John Campbell was fresh late in the game, which is weird to do on the offensive line. And I think Larry Johnson, in case something happens to Hurd, needs to focus on left tackle. So that's what I would do if I were Tennessee in the off week. And I would prepare on subbing Dane Davis for a couple of drives a game so that John Campbell is fresh late. But Davis can't do that if he's focusing on backing up every position. What down is next?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right, Caleb. So I totally disagreed with your first one.
You disagree with it?
No. I think they'll naturally get better.
All right, I'm going to get this one actually out of the way on second down because we kind of talked about it on our last segment. But Nico and his receivers, his pass catchers need to establish a better rapport. And I mean the receivers and the tight ends. I think he's missing tight ends on crossing routes sometimes. I think tight ends are not breaking on the right routes when they do run crossing routes. And then we already talked about the receiver. So I think the combination of those two, he just needs a better rapport with his pass catchers, period. And if he gets it with his tight ends, then we're talking about Tennessee doing what you're suggesting and being able to do.
Yep, chemistry. And I'd go a little bit with some thud drills. Do you know what those are?
I do not know what.
So you don't tackle to the ground, but Tennessee's practices are incredibly soft, like a lot of college practices. Not a knock on Josh Heupel; he doesn't want to get people hurt, so you don't take people to the ground. But I would be willing to knock Nico around a little bit, thud him, and get him a little more used to that, because I think he's been a 7-on-7 superstar, but you don't get hit in 7-on-7.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
What's next, Caleb?
All right, so on third down, guys, I'm sorry. I apologize up front, and I think Dave might say I'm just being mean. I love what Dylan Sampson's done. I have high regard for him. I think he's amazing. Tennessee needs more depth at running back. And that is to say nothing negative of Deshaun Bishop. But when Deshaun Bishop gets in the game, he's so small, there's just a glaring, obvious issue with pass pro. There have been multiple times Tennessee had momentum in the second half because Dylan Sampson got them a touchdown. You know, he's been doing in the third quarter. I call him third quarter Dylan at this point. For two touchdown third quarter Dylan is what we can call him. But after he does all that work, they have to give him a break, and they bring in Deshaun Bishop, and then a drive gets killed because Deshaun Bishop is just too small to pass protect. And so Cam Seldon has really, or Peyton Lewis, one of them's got to emerge in the bye week. I'm sorry, one of them does.
Okay, I agree, but I still say that I have no problem with Dylan Sampson getting 26, 28 carries. And I think he's the key to this offense.
I don't either, really, but I mean, they're still pulling him for drives because they have to just to get him rest.
Yeah,
and
that means Bishop, who's not good in pass pro.
Yeah, that means Bishop, who's not good in pass pro. Bishop runs hard. I can't say enough about how hard Bishop runs. It's like I have, this Dave, I have all the respect in the world for him and the way he plays. He's just too small right now to pick up those blitzers, particularly with the tackles having the issues they have. Now, it's possible, Dave, that what we're talking about, the tackles getting better versus Bishop, that they go hand in hand. Maybe if the tackles get better, you won't have to, then Bishop can stay on the field because you won't have to rely on him to pick up blitzes that Lance Hurd just misses half the time. But, right now, they got to get better.
Possession down coming up, 4th down, the most important down. No, really, coaches will tell you it's 1st down because it sets up the whole chain of events. But it is a possession down. 4th down up next. Caleb picks these things. He's saying no Dylan Sampson the rest of the season.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Ah, gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without...
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
What is 4th down?
4th down is, I am a college football coach, so it's 4th and 1, and I'm going to punt. I'm kidding, guys. So 4th down is the back end of the defense needs to develop more discipline. I think the linebackers, because Keenan Peely is out. So with Keenan Peely out,
don't you think they did that with Will Brooks filling in for run fits when he needed
I'm
to?
not criticizing Will Brooks. This has nothing to do on Will Brooks, who has done an amazing job. I'm criticizing
Andre Turrentine.
I'm talking about Andre Turrentine. I'm talking about Boo Carter, who I think is playing hard and is recovering well, but Boo Carter is not necessarily staying at home a lot of times. I think that's because he's just playing really hard. And also Jeremiah Thielander, and Arian Carter. Both Arian Carter, you talked about it, was out of position on a pass play that you can't allow against Arkansas. Thielander against Florida was allowing a lot of tight end plays and passes over the middle. There was a lot of those play action tight ends into the flats that Florida ran in the first half. Remember that too? Yes. And I think Thielander was called on a lot of those. Looked better against Alabama. Honestly, I don't think the linebacker's job against Alabama was that hard. I think Tim Banks had a scheme of let's just keep Jalen Milroe in the pocket and he won't do anything useful. So I don't think the linebackers had to do much.
Yeah, I don't think it speaks to Banks as much as I think it speaks to Tennessee not only has a lot of good athletic defensive linemen, but they've got smart defensive linemen.
They have very smart defensive linemen. That is true. As a matter of fact, I've seen some people try to run those quick speed options on them, and they stay at home every time.
They do, and they stay in their passing lanes, which could have killed you against Jalen Milroe. Listen, an NFL team, if it doesn't keep passing lanes against Jalen Milroe, he could beat them. Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. The promo code HOOKED for 10% off. Coming up on the program, Kalen DeBoer's feeling the heat, and it's showing up in his coach's show. And it reminds me of, and I do a great impression of this. Well, y'all don't like it. You just go down to the Kmart and rent a movie. I'll tell you who that is right after this with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford and Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Step up your game in this 2024 F-150 4x4 Super Crew STX, $46,994. 24 Ford Expedition XLT, $59,978. 24 F-250 Crew Cab 4x4 STX, $57,888.
Local you trust, performance you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
He tries very hard. The Dave Hooker Show.
All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Touchdown! Unbelievable!
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Say something entertaining for a second, because I want to send out an entertaining tweet to bring some more people into the program. I just, listen, I think anytime that I do my Jerry Green impression, that's must watch, must listen YouTube.
I think you are very hard on Jerry Green. I think he is one of the most intelligent. I think Jerry Green and Butch Jones are two of the most intelligent human beings to ever set foot on Tennessee's campus. And I also think that
Caleb Calhoun just needs to go down to the Kmart and rent a movie.
I also think that Tennessee made a huge mistake moving on from they had a great coach in Jerry Green, and then they managed to upgrade with an even greater coach in Buzz Peterson, who, guys, Buzz Peterson was exactly what you wanted as a head coach, because he didn't have any X's and O's. He didn't recruit, but he had discipline. And discipline wins games, guys.
And he was best friends with Michael Jordan, who never stepped foot on Tennessee's campus.
Never. No, but he was best friends with him. And what he learned from Michael Jordan was discipline. Buzz Peterson.
You know how the interview with Buzz went? Because Jerry Green, he tended to have a few pops before ball calls on a Monday night. By a few, I mean 8 to 12. And that's when the famous, for those that are too young and you don't remember, if I could go back and dig it up, I would. It was just incredible. And so it got to the point where they stopped having him on site. And we're going to get to Kalen DeBoer's coach's show and why things are melting down there. They didn't have him on site because you didn't know that he could safely make it back home. And, you know, so they have him on, and there's 1 week where he's kind of like sounds a bit riled up. And you got to remember, Tennessee's like winning mid-20 games a year at this point. I mean, they were good. You just knew they were going to flame out when it got dicey in the NCAA tournament. So, but the best part about Jerry Green is with a couple of pops in him, he one time actually said this. So what do you say to the fans, or a caller called? And Kalen DeBoer got challenged by a caller, which is why we get this in here. So a caller called and kind of challenged him like the players don't play hard. And he goes, well, if you don't like it, you can just go down to Kmart and rent a movie. Now, Kmart doesn't rent movies. Okay, that's the important part to point out. So basically, the interview with Buzz went like this. Do you drink? No. You got the job.
That's actually really funny. So I didn't know he was drunk when he said that. That sounds like Jerry Green, though. But Dave,
come on. I mean, it was well known that he was a little slurry for weeks leading into that.
I'm going to construct the perfect coach with Buzz Peterson's discipline, Billy Napier's details, and Jerry Green's practice running abilities.
Yes. And I also I don't think I've ever told you about the story where Chris Lowe and I got in a long conversation.
Oh, we all saw him getting ready to go golf?
Yeah, after he had just gotten on ball calls and said, I don't ever golf during the season. All right, so Kalen DeBoer takes one call. Do we know if he was related to this caller or not? Set this up because Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, and keep this in mind. You should have never taken calls in the first place, as south as it's going. And somebody should have alerted him to that at Alabama, either with whoever it is, Learfield, IMG, whatever it is, who puts that show together. They should have never taken the first call because you lose to Vanderbilt and you lose to Tennessee, and the fans are not going to be happy. So, Caleb, what happened on Kalen DeBoer's coach's show?
So on Kalen DeBoer's coach's show, basically, and this happened on Wednesday, he took just one caller from a guy named Pee Wee from Green Bay. Okay, just sounds like a fine bomb caller.
Pee Wee, we appreciate you joining us.
So Pee Wee from Green Bay called in, and it was actually just a standard question about the offensive line. And he said some stuff like, we sweat the small stuff, whatever you heard about this week, it's not so much different. Kind of standard coach speak, and then they just wrapped up the show. No more questions. Did not take one question from the audience because the coaches show they're at an audience usually, and there's people in the crowd. No calls from the crowd.
Okay, so Pee Wee asked a normal question. Pee Wee didn't think he was going to be talked about in Knoxville this morning, but so
Grand Bay, Alabama's in Mobile County.
Okay, so Pee Wee asked a normal question by all indications. Not what the hell are you doing?
But let's be honest, Dave. Can I give my conspiracy?
He was a plant caller?
Yes, he was a straight-up plant caller.
Totally agree with that.
Plant caller.
Totally agree with that. That was a plant call, and it was to give Kalen some interaction with the fan base, but that was about as real as Butch Jones's haircut.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm 100% with you. This was a plant caller because it was a standard football question. I know these type of calls because I've seen other coaches be on these coaching shows, and you get way too many callers screamed in mad. I mean, we had Coach Fulmer on yesterday, and poor Coach Fulmer was having to a lot of times in the early 2000s defend Randy Sanders because every other caller was like, Randy Sanders is not getting the job done. We gonna make some staff changes.
By the way, that I believe you're 100% right, and it's a good sign for Tennessee. Do you know why it's a good sign for Tennessee?
Why?
Because the people that are in charge of things are looking out for Kalen DeBoer. And you want Kalen DeBoer to have that job as long as humanly possible because he's in over his head.
I think what they should do, the winner, the best caller into the Feinbaum show every day of a week should be allowed to call into Alabama's coaches show the next week. What do you think of that, Dave?
I'm fine with that. Our poll question, Kalen DeBoer will last blank long at Alabama. 3 years or less, more than 3, surely. 3 years or less has 88% of the vote. But you want him to last longer if you're Tennessee. Because
I think he's a good I think he's actually pretty good
I think he's a good coach too. But I don't ever think you can remove the stain of losing to Vanderbilt and getting beat by your rival Tennessee. I don't think you can ever lose that stain. So I think no matter what happens, he goes in to recruit a 5-star quarterback. And he says, look at what I did with Michael Penix. And look at what I did with that Penix. And I can do that with you. I can make you an NFL quarterback. Look what I did. And the parents are like, man, that sounds pretty good. And he offered you $2 million a year NIL money. And, man, I think that offense is a perfect fit for you. But, oh, my Lord, he still lost to Vanderbilt back in 2024. I don't think that ever goes away.
You might have a point. Oh, you might have a point. That sucks, but you might have a point. I still have a problem with it because I think I have a problem with the one question. I think there should be I think the SEC should mandate contracts on the coaches show where you have to take questions from the fans once a week during the season. Like, I just am a believer that these fans pay too much money. They patronize the product too well. We're the fourth estate, Dave. We're the media. We ask questions, but there should be a forum where fans get to ask questions of these coaches once a week, honestly, and they shouldn't be able to hide. And people are bringing up last year, like Dabo asking Tyler from calling into Dabo show last year is basically criticizing Dabo and the job he's doing, and Dabo telling him he's part of the problem. I defended Dabo on that. I'm like, you know what? He took the call, he owned it, and he's right. Dabo should be like, you guys should be grateful for what I've done for you for 10 years. Because it's never been done.
I hate that. That sounds so pompous. Whether or not it's true that the fans could be part of the problem, that not showing up hurts recruiting, that having a negative feel on message boards hurts recruiting. I mean, come on. What are the fans supposed to do? Are you supposed to walk up to your buddy at the water cooler and say, "Oh, Bob, you know, we've been Alabama fans ever since I can remember, and that Saban run was fantastic. But let's don't talk about that Vanderbilt game because we really took one in the you-know-where, and I don't want to discuss that because somebody might overhear me talking about it, and they might know of a recruit that's considering Alabama in 2026. I think that's so bull to throw it on the fans.
Okay, I get it, but like I get that, but at least Dabo's honest on his feelings on it. Unlike coaches who are bailing. I want to, Dave. I also want these coaches to do it because I think you and I should set up a show where we pose as fans of teams and call into these coaches shows.
I like it, and I'll tell you what I'll do. Next question on the message board, and you can ask me a question as if I were an Alabama coach, Kalen DeBoer, but I'll answer it in the Jerry Green voice. So whoever has a question, go ahead and jump on board, and I'll do that in the Jerry Green voice because I'm really good at that. I mean, I'm pretty humble, but I'm really good at that. Hound Dogs of Knoxville champions look good in orange. HDKnoxville.com. If we can drop that in the chat, I would appreciate it. HDKnoxville.com. We also want to thank our good friends at National Fitness Center, where I was this morning. Unmatched value, limitless options. Begin your fitness journey today. NFC1.com. NFC1.com. All right, so I'm waiting for a question that you might have for Kalen DeBoer. Pretend you're an Alabama fan, and then I'll answer it in the Jerry Green voice. Okay. So Dabo looks like a guy who should have been an Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He does. Do we have a question? Because I'm looking through our software and I don't see yet.
I don't see a question yet.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe that didn't work as well.
Why don't you combine Jerry Green and Lou Holtz?
I see. I don't know. Is that disrespectful to Lou Holtz, who dog cussed me? Okay.
What are we going to do about DeBoer if we
Steven
lose more games this
says,
year?
what are we going to do about DeBoer if we lose more games this year? So in my Jerry Green voice, well, who says we're going to lose more games this year? We're going to go out there and play the best we can. And, honey, I put a little bit more in this glass. Sorry, to get back to you, I'll also say that it's your fault that we didn't recruit better because you didn't show up and cheer. Yeah, there we go. That's my Jerry Green voice for the day.
All righty. There we go. Love it, Dave.
You know, the problem was it wasn't slurry enough.
Yeah, that's true. You weren't drunk enough.
It needed to be a little slurrier. Ashley says, did the Neyland effect measure up? Well, I'd have to say it did. That guy, Chris Stewart, down in Alabama, says that they're popping in all kinds of stuff like double D piping. No, he didn't say that. All right, so Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams explains his orange nails.
Yes.
Righty. Do we have a picture of this?
This was shown right after Alabama lost to Tennessee. It was on, I don't think he meant to get called. This was a sorority girl by the name of Emily Toth. I believe she has the Italian flag in her Instagram profile. She took a picture of him and put it on her Instagram story. And that's how this got caught. But here is Ryan Williams, if you can see it, wearing pink nails. I'm not pink, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, orange. I don't know why I said pink. I'm high, but I'm kidding. I'm not high, guys. I'm joking, okay? Wearing orange nails.
Now, when you
flashing
say
them, by the way,
after that
flashing them after the loss too.
Yeah, when you say after the game, you don't mean the night after the game, like they caught him going to the bus, do you?
According to SEC Unfiltered, this is just a day after the loss. And he's showing he's specifically showing his nails, by the way.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to be fair and give his explanation. Can I do that?
Yes.
Ryan Williams basically says that his nails are often painted because his when he was in high school, his little sister decided she really likes doing nails, and she wanted to try it on him, and he's comfortable letting her do it, and that, you know, she likes doing it, and now she's more confident, and so he lets her do his nails like every week. Fine, makes sense. And some reports are saying he had the orange nails before the game on Saturday.
That's worse.
That's worse. I'm not here to judge anybody who gets their nails done. You do what you do. I don't care.
Oh, I've got a friend who he gets his nails done, so I'm not trying to make this any sort of feminine thing. I mean,
no, not at all.
Yeah.
The orange, doing it orange, and keeping them on either before or right after you lost to Tennessee is very bad. You're really not thinking this through. And if you want to say if you wanted to say my sister wanted to do this and she picked it,
you're really not thinking this through.
If you wanted to say your sister wanted to do it and she picked the color, don't you have the wherewithal, even at 17, to say I can't do orange?
I would think.
Does he want out of Alabama?
Well, yeah, of course he does.
So
of course he does.
Tennessee
That place is
after
going up in flames. It's a dumpster fire. They got beat by Vanderbilt. That's all you need to say. And I don't care if Vanderbilt finishes the season at 8-4. You got beat by Vanderbilt. What's our poll question?
Our poll question is, Kalen DeBoer will last 3 years or less at Bama, more than 3 surely. 89%.
No, we got a new one.
And then the new one. Does Ryan Williams secretly want to be a Vol? Yes, why wouldn't he be? 86%. No, he likes losing at Alabama, 14%. Guys, there's something there, and I think Tennessee should be targeting him, quite honestly.
I'm not even joking. Yes, you're right. I would tamper. What are they going to do? Are they going to back Kalen DeBoer, or are they going to back one of the... Tennessee now has a coach that the SEC likes. You know, he runs a clean program. He's got an exciting brand of football when all the pieces are in place. He can win a championship. So if Tennessee even were to get caught tampering, which you can't catch anybody with social media, nothing would happen to him.
No, nothing would happen to him. And also, let's throw this out there. You've watched Jalen Milroe this year. I have too. We both said he's not a fit for Kalen DeBoer's offense. Now, I think Kalen DeBoer, I still think he could last long term. I think Alabama fans need to understand he's installing a new offense, and Jalen Milroe is the worst fit for that offense possible. But I will say, doesn't Kalen DeBoer deserve a little bit of criticism for not trying to find another quarterback that would be a fit for his offense in the portal?
Yeah, but I would argue this with the transfer portal. I don't think anybody, including Tennessee, really has a backup quarterback. But I see your point.
Nudge Jalen Milroe out and go get one. And the reason I'm saying that is, you're Ryan Williams. Dave, I'm going to be honest. Jalen Milroe is like his whole Heisman campaign that we said a couple weeks ago. It was based on two things: his legs and the fact that Ryan Williams is bailing him out on throws by himself. If you're Ryan Williams, wouldn't you want a more accurate passer dishing you the ball consistently? I mean, if Ryan Williams actually played as well as he could on Saturday. I think he did have a touchdown. But how many chances did he have on Saturday to make big plays, but Jalen Milroe just missed him? Blatant inaccurate throws.
A lot. Now, Nico hasn't been the professor of deep ball accuracy, but I think he's going to be better than Jalen Milroe when it comes to throwing the football long term. Thank you, Timothy, for the contribution to Quincy Calhoun's college fund, who's a little bit under the weather. We hope he's doing great. I'm not joking. I think this is a sign that he would like to play at Tennessee. And this is one of those things that as a talk show host, I could grandstand on and say there's no doubt in my mind. I'm not saying there's no doubt in my mind. I don't know what's going through the young man's head, but this is an indication to me, clearly. And I don't want to overreact to one social media post. But nowadays, he's grown up with the transfer portal. Caleb, he doesn't think of the transfer portal as something new. It's been around since he was 14 years old, 13 years old. So to him, it's just like an NFL free agent. There's no difference between playing for the Jets and the Giants.
I totally agree. It's not a real thing. And where is Ryan Williams from again? I want to look that up. Because where you're from also can have an impact on how serious you take these things. And he is from, now Ryan Williams is from Alabama. So he does understand things. And I point this out. I think this is why Nick Saban said what he said last week about how his players take the Tennessee rivalry seriously. I think if you're from Alabama and you grow up in the culture, I think there's a little more seriousness of that rivalry. I think if you're not from Alabama and you go play for Alabama, you take Auburn more seriously from the last 10, 15 years, I guess. So I think he does understand some things, but I want to point this out. He's from Saraland, Alabama. That's exactly where Velus Jones is from. And Josh Heupel turned Velus Jones into an NFL draft pick. And you don't think Ryan Williams saw that? I am telling you guys.
Velus Jones and Ryan Williams have talked.
I think that's possible.
Okay, I
think that's possible.
I'm sure they have. You would be crazy not to reach out to somebody that's having elite success in your chosen field that happens to be from your hometown. Travis says Ryan Williams will be a ball next year. Dave says no doubt.
And guess
I'm
who
not
else?
saying no doubt, but if okay, I think there's at least a 30% chance to 40% chance.
No, I agree. And guess who else is from Mobile County, Alabama, and actually helped Velus Jones commit to Tennessee? Kind of a known guy, Dave. But yeah, this guy named T. Martin. This guy named T. Martin is from there. And another big point is that Kelsey Pope, Tennessee's wide receivers coach, he's not from Mobile. He's actually from more closer to Tuscaloosa, but he is from Alabama. He's from Talladega County. Guys, Ryan Williams could be the first Tennessee could start raiding Alabama for some wide receiver talent.
Angie says, now Angie, I want to give you the floor on this because you're a dissenting opinion here. So, okay, Angie says, I think it could be a number of things. If his younger sister did it, it could have been for Halloween, pumpkin color. It could be his sister's favorite color. Maybe she likes to pick up trash on the side of the interstate. I don't know. Y'all have no idea why. He is 17. That is true. Okay, that is true. And this
we're not attacking him.
Yeah, no, not at all. This could be something just very silly. However, I can tell you when I was 16, if I would have shown up dressed in, let's say, red after Halls beat Powell, and my friends played for Powell, they would be, what the hell are you doing? That's when I was 15, 16 years old. I would have known better, Caleb, than to show up at my buddy's house after he's recovered from the day before. We used to go play basketball that day, help him loosen up. He played offensive line. If I showed up in all red, he would have been like, if you'd just gotten beat by Halls, which was Tennessee's rival the night before, he would have been, what the hell are you doing?
Yes. And by the way, I get he's 17. There's no way you don't know that. You know that when you're a teenager. I mean, and also, couldn't Kalen DeBoer be like, yeah, change those nail colors because,
I guess what I'm saying is it's more likely a message than not. Can we all agree on that?
I think it is. And for him to flash them, like literally he held his hands up like this after the Tennessee loss to a random sorority girl that saw him on campus. I gotta be honest with you guys. You don't flash those. You know the context of that. Y'all can say he's 17. He's 17, but like we were all 17. You're immature at 17. But you're not clueless at 17.
Quality Tire Pros, serving Chattanooga community since 1957. They're certainly not clueless. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more. QualityTirePros.com, QualityTirePros.com. Tell Bo and all our friends at Quality Tire Pros that Dave and Caleb and Off the Hook Sports said hello. We also want to remind you, Rick Terry Jewelry Design. Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the Fire Opals? They're orange. They're a Tennessee tradition. And if you're just a free member of Hooker's Corner, then you will be registered for Rick Terry's Grade 8 Garmin Challenge. We will give away a Garmin when we hit 8,000 subscribers, which is just right around the corner. And all you have to be is a free member of Hooker's Corner and a subscriber to this station. And we hope you already are. Click like and subscribe. Now, if you want to be qualified to win that mini helmet autographed by Dylan Sampson, then you do have to be a paid member, and you get increased recruiting coverage, more interaction with me and Caleb Calhoun. The QR code is right there. Please join. We greatly appreciate it. Coming up on the program, I'm going to leave that up there for anybody that wants to join. But we're going to get to James Franklin and a very serious subject, as there is some very serious allegations against some of his former players. And this just in. Penn State is the one place that you do not want to have any sort of sexual assault charge, in case you didn't know. That's pretty serious, heady stuff. And I think it could undermine James Franklin and Penn State's ability to even make the college football playoff this year. The UPS store Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses, wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated. The link is right down below. So coming up, we'll get to the very serious rape allegations at Penn State with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. You're not going to believe James Franklin reacted to this. It was the definition of cowardice. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
2024 F-150 4x4 Super Crew STX, $46,994. 24 Ford Expedition XLT, $59,978. 24 F-250 Crew Cab 4x4 STX, $57,888.
Local you trust, performance you can afford.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire prevention.
That's hot.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win, banksjones.com.
He tries very hard. The Dave Hooker Show.
All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Touchdown! Unbelievable!
YouTube Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
All right, welcome back to the program. Caleb's picks coming up, and we like to have a lot of fun on the program, but this is serious, and not just as it pertains to football, but as it pertains to the victims in this case, the alleged attackers, the entire Penn State community, as Caleb, very serious allegations have been levied against two players that were at Penn State that are not now. What can you tell us about the situation at Penn State, who is having their best year under James Franklin? Obviously, that's very secondary, but what can you tell us about the situation that is now?
So Kavion Keys and Jameel Lyons were two former Penn State players who appeared in court Wednesday to face charges of rape and other sex crimes stemming from incidents back in the summer on July the 7th, to be clear. They were placed on interim suspension for a personal matter over the summer and then were dismissed from the team back in August. A few hours after a court set their bond at $500,000 and $400,000, James Franklin was set to speak with the press. So that was yesterday. I guess it was after the bond was set, before they were set to appear in court. James Franklin spoke and was asked about it, and really did his darndest to dodge everything. And I'm going to show it. This is 1 minute and 10 seconds. If you're just listening on audio, we'll kind of describe what happens. I'll let Dave. Do you mind describing what happens as it goes?
No, that sounds good. Let me ask you two things here. That I just want to make sure. They were players on the team, which I know they were, when this happened, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then they were not players on the team, but no reason was officially given why. And they were not completely booted right away, correct?
Right. They were first placed on interim suspension, and then they were removed from the roster and dismissed from the university in August, according to SI.com. So, yeah, they were kicked off the team in August. They were suspended in July and kicked off in August.
Okay, let me be real clear. I care most about the alleged victims in this situation. But as it pertains to football and Penn State, it sounds like it could be the beginning of a cover-up. And,
yes.
And goodness knows, nobody knows cover-ups like Penn State. And to think that you get a fair shake if you try to cover something up at Penn State compared to another university is silly. They're going to be hyper responsive to that. So this is something that starts as a kind of big story and could end up going the direction of the Joe Paterno scandal, which was much more widespread. I'm not comparing the two. But the cover-up, to me, sounds somewhat similar. So here we go. James Franklin at the microphone for his weekly press conference, I imagine.
Right, and this is what he said.
Guys, how we doing?
Good. This is obviously a serious and sensitive subject. I know Greg read that, but we haven't heard anything from you on this.
Okay, so here's what happened. Can we pause it for a second? And is there a way that we can go back even further?
That's as far back as we can really go.
Okay, so I want to restart this. So the sports information person actually came out first and read a statement that James Franklin was not going to discuss this. James Franklin, if you're on our audio platform, is standing behind the backdrop that has the sponsors and Penn State and Go PSU and all that stuff. All right, so he reads a statement, and then James Franklin comes up. So let's go from that point.
All right, yeah. So then James Franklin comes up, and then you guys may not be able to hear James Franklin. The first question after the sports information director said he wouldn't answer any questions on it, the media members do their jobs, and I think it was the Center Daily Times was the first ask him a question about it.
Guys, how we doing?
Good. This is obviously a serious and sensitive subject. I know Greg read that, but we haven't heard anything from you on this.
John,
okay.
The university statement. All right. Do I need to read the statement again?
If you would like.
All right.
And they're going to come read the statement real quick. And here's
regarding the two former Penn State football players, we released a statement yesterday and our program and athletic department will have no further comment. If you need the statement, please reach out to me or Chris.
So now James Franklin comes back to the podium real quick.
Okay.
And
This isn't going to go much
Hey guys,
better.
any questions?
James, at what point in the summer were you aware that these guys were not going to be on?
He's
Okay,
asked
and
and
he
he
walks
walks
off.
away. Again.
Guys, the university already released a statement. If you need the statement, reach out to me or Chris. We'll have no further comment.
And then...
Okay, I feel a little bit sorry for that guy. He's put in a tough position. But he ultimately needs to be in another line of work if he's going to get defensive about that. Because it's the reporter's job. He's not the reporter's boss. It's the reporter's job to ask that question. And I would be particularly concerned if I'm a Penn State fan by the one question of when did you know in the summer about the severity of these charges? Caleb, this could very easily end up costing James Franklin his job.
Well, yes, and also, let's not forget this. James Franklin, the year he left Vanderbilt for Penn State. Now, this is not why he left Vanderbilt for Penn State, because, guys, everybody in the world would leave Vanderbilt for Penn State for a coaching job. However, the year he left Vanderbilt for Penn State, as he was leaving, 4 Vanderbilt players ended up being allegedly recorded a sexual assault on a student. James Franklin initially told one of the players, because they had reportedly recorded it, and James Franklin initially reportedly told one of the players to to delete the recording. Then he testified via Skype during a pretrial hearing for the charges that he gave players the impression he had seen the video to emphasize the seriousness of that situation. This is back in 2014. He said, "I spoke as if I had seen the video because I was angry and upset and didn't want to water down the message to them." So that's a really weird thing to say, I gave them the impression that I saw the video and then told them to take it down. What? And
Yeah,
that was 10 years ago.
You have 2 things going against you if you're James Franklin. You have a history of perhaps covering a similar allegation.
Of at least suspiciously handling it.
Yes. And you're at Penn State. Which that would be like paying players in the 90s at SMU, right? I mean, that's the one place you wouldn't do that.
That'd be like O.J. Simpson becoming head coach at Florida. Sorry.
Or O.J. Simpson becoming the head investigator, which he said he was looking for those murderers. He never found them.
Well, that's because they
the
trumped up charges against him and sent him to prison for 10 years. If we didn't send him to prison for 10 years, he may have found the killer. But yes, that's I'm sorry. This is I think there could be a lot more. Now, I'm going to defend James Franklin just in this regard. I do think when an accusation comes up like this, you suspend first and you let the legal process play out no matter how serious the charges are. But the fact that he dismissed in August leads me to believe the one thing I'll say that could have happened is he suspended, waited for more information, and then he found some information that's like, I got to dismiss him from the team. It's really bad. And maybe the reason he's not speaking to the press is because he's about to have to testify at some point. That's all possible.
True. Now, can we be fair for a second to, and again, please, those that are listening, especially females out there in particular, know that I take this very seriously. I also have been around football long enough where I know that accusations can be levied against athletes because some people feel like they have leverage because the athletes are in the public eye. I think that happened in the A.J. Johnson situation. And for those that don't remember, he was a linebacker, probably would have played a few years in the NFL, been a good player, but his career was completely sidetracked because it took forever to determine his fate legally. So don't we need to be somewhat fair to the process? I mean, to me, I'm the Steve Spurrier type. You hit a woman, you do something like this, the allegations are pretty much enough. Unless I just know you and I've known you for 5 years and 4 years in recruiting, and I just can't believe it. 99 times out of 100, I'm booting you off the team for something like this. I'm not just suspending you indefinitely.
Yes, I agree. I think what's worked well, and he did see to me I can't say James Franklin has handled any of this wrong yet. What's working against James Franklin is his past with Vanderbilt and, like you said, the Penn State past. Those two things. But now you could also see maybe that's working in his favor because, look, whatever you guys want to say, guys, just so you guys know, I was a local news reporter in Western Maryland when Penn State, the scandal broke. There were shadow campuses in Southern Pennsylvania, which was part of the area that I covered in Western Maryland around that time, since it borders Pennsylvania. And the board of trustees saved that program and took all the hits from the cultish students that basically absolutely refused to believe that Joe Paterno did anything wrong. And the level of courage they took, firing everybody, getting these people indicted for perjury, they deserve a ton of credit for that. And I don't think they would let another cover-up happen because of that.
No, and I think that's going to make the media extra aggressive, to be quite honest with you. Adam says, how big is this story right now, Dave? Are we just aware of something? Well, I'm just aware of it. Are we trying to burn the place down? I'm not trying to burn any place down. But I'm just telling you that, hey, listen to this too, okay? Suspended indefinitely, there's no real difference between kicking somebody off the team. I mean, if you remember, oh gosh, what was his name?
Jeremy Banks kicked off the team?
Well, no, but the defensive back from Miami, they got kicked off the team. And came back. Oh, came back. Come on, you know.
Oh, Demetrius Morley?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Demetrius Morley got kicked off the team, and then he showed up at a practice. And I said, Demo, are you coming back? And he said, yeah, probably. And that was my quote. So you can kick them off the team to disassociate yourself and then bring them back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it looks
that's effectively a suspension, though. Just be like, you're not with the team right now, but I'm not making it a permanent thing. That's how I would go about this.
Ashley says if it were Tennessee staff, they would burn it down. Believe that. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but give me some clarification on that, Ashley. We're gonna change gears a little bit. Well, let me ask you, how would Josh Heupel handle this? I think he would boot the guys off his team.
I think he would let the process play out. Look, I'm going to be fair here. We can't. It's not like Josh Heupel has the spick and span track record on this. He was offensive coordinator when the Joe Mixon thing happened in 2014. When Joe
Whoa. No assistant coach has that say.
I agree with you on that. You
cannot throw an assistant coach under the bus.
Fair enough. That's a fair point. I'm just saying, like, since he's been a head coach, it's hard because nothing's actually like that has actually happened under Josh Heupel. So we don't know yet. So we're just gonna have to wait and see.
But I'm just, and if an assistant coach went to a head coach and said, "You really need to suspend this guy because this is awful," that head coach would say, "You get the hell out of my office." Ray Varner Ford, local you can trust, innovation you can afford. Go to rayvarnerford.com. Also remind you about our friends at Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best in sports memorabilia. Daily updates on Facebook at Sports Treasures TN. That's Sports Treasures TN. Last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Caleb has his picks. I'm excited for that. We'll lighten the mood a little bit as look at me. Last look brought to you by Caleb. Brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. No contacts, no glasses. Thanks to ccteyes.com. ccteyes.com. Give me some picks, Caleb, and then I will agree or disagree with one of these sounders.
Hey now.
Or
That's crazy.
Or
You suck, you jackass.
I only save that one for the best. All right, what do you got, Caleb? Picks.
All right, so we have 12 SEC teams playing this week, all against each other, 4 on a bye. That gives us 6 SEC games and 2 more top 25 games, plus I have 3 extra best bet picks. So we got 11 games. I'm going to run through these real quick. All right, so we're starting in a top 25 game, and this is one of my best bets too. Navy plus 13.5 against Notre Dame. I think Navy covers that. Guys, it's midterm week for Notre Dame, and if you guys know history, Notre Dame always flops in midterm week because their players are set on that academic standard. So
I didn't know that. So I'll just agree that that's a good one.
Yeah. Yep, and also take the under 51.5 because Navy runs the option. They play ball control. This game ain't getting 51.5.
All right.
Next, this was a tough one for me. I'm taking Ole Miss to cover the 20-point spread against Oklahoma. I think with Seth Littrell being fired, I think Oklahoma is just in a disastrous state right now. Lane Kiffin coming off a bye. I think Ole Miss just blows them out. Take the over 48.5, even with Oklahoma's defense being pretty good.
You suck, you jackass.
I don't think that the Mercenaries or Ole Miss are going to react well to 2 losses before October or by mid-September.
So do you?
So we're both kind of playing the mental game, right? In this one,
we are playing the mental game. We are. Maybe Oklahoma gets rejuvenated. All right.
I think Walter Nolan's thinking, man, I'd look good in a Steelers uniform.
He probably is, actually. All right, here's a good one. All right, and y'all, they are 1-6 on the year. This isn't just my take the team that's underdogs. Take them to win in an outright upset. This is my upset pick of the week. Mississippi State plus 6.5 against Arkansas. Take Mississippi State to upset them outright. They're at home, and they've been getting better recently. Jeff Levy's team is coming together. They're going to upset Arkansas and Sam Pittman. Book it. Take the over 58.5.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I just feel like that's the upset. I was looking at the SEC schedule yesterday when I was sitting in for Will West with Tyler and Will, and I just that game looked weird to me. Like, I could see that being upset. All right, that's weird that you would pick that. Who's next?
Yeah, and I got the over 58.5 on this one. All right, so next is Oregon against Illinois. That's a top 25 game. It's Illinois at Oregon. You know the 2 time zone rule with the Big Ten, Dave. They've been terrible against the spread this year, so I'm taking Oregon to cover the 21.5 point spread, and I'm taking the over 54.5.
Hey now. By the way, Illini, the laziest nickname in all of sports. It would be like the Tennessee Tens.
That is true, but it's honestly
at least give.
You get some alliteration, just like you do with their head coach and Brett Bielema. And also, Brett Bielema is flying out west, and that never ends well. So
he usually comes back married to somebody that he supposedly never even met that worked for him. That he met at a blackjack table. True story. Look it up. Caleb.
All right, tough one on this. I think Alabama covers the 16.5 point spread against Missouri. I do. I don't think they're quitting on the team yet. I think the game hits the over 51.5. Missouri's defense is very suspect. I think they're a fraudulent team to begin with. I think Alabama covers the 16.5, and they come together finally.
I'll take more fraudulent over quitting. Hey now. But barely. What's next?
All right, so tough one again for me, but the quarterback situation at Texas with them throwing Arch Manning in, which was a mismanagement by Steve Sarkisian, there is trouble in paradise in Austin. Vanderbilt covers the 18.5 point spread. They don't lose by 18.5, and this game hits the under 52.5 because Texas offense struggles in Nashville.
Shots for Sarkisian. We remind you can go to Asia Cafe for a fantastic time. Asia Cafe has those authentic Asian cuisine handcrafted from guarded family recipes, 5 locations to choose from. And they've got a great bar atmosphere as well to watch games. And they got that 6-to-1 Brazilian cocoa you can order online, asiacafe.org, asiacafe.org. Who's next, Caleb?
Do you agree with me on Texas, or do you think Texas covers?
I think Texas bounces back and covers.
All righty. Next, the game of the week, Texas A&M, LSU. Guys, Texas A&M plus 2.5. I don't know why they're underdogs in this one. I think they're at home, the 12th man against LSU. I'm taking the under 54.5. I think Kyle Field at night just makes for sloppy play by LSU's offense.
And you like A&M?
I like A&M plus 2.5.
Hey now. I'd agree with that. What else?
All right. And then Kentucky and Auburn. I'm staying away from the spread on this game. I have no idea how it's going to go, but I'm taking Kentucky minus 2.5. But I'm huge on the under 43.5. Nobody's going to score in this game.
Hey now. Agreed.
All right, so I went to my best bets. Navy plus 13.5 is my super dog. MSU is my upset team over Arkansas and Mississippi State. Syracuse and Pittsburgh, take the over 62.5 Friday night. Points, baby. Penn State at Wisconsin, take the under 47.5. That's going to be an ugly football game, Big Ten style. It's going to be in the 30s in Wisconsin Saturday night. And then finally, my I got 3 favorite teams I think are all going to cover because I'm following the Big Ten travel rule. One's not Big Ten, though. Colorado minus 5 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati traveling 2 time zones to Colorado. Colorado covers. Indiana minus 6.5 against Washington. That's going to make Dave's head explode, but Washington's traveling to Indiana 3 time zones. And USC is USC is going to cover the 13-point spread against Rutgers. Whatever you think.
Oh, no way.
That is total.
It's in LA. Greg Schiano's team's flying to LA.
That team's done. That team's as done as my grandmother's Thanksgiving turkey. Way overcooked. They're done. You left it in the oven 2 hours too long. I'd rather get salmonella once in my life and have turkey that's properly cooked the rest of the time. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. We're off tomorrow on a Friday. We take a little bit of time on the bye week, but we'll have coverage on Off the Hook Sports as the Vols basketball team hits the court. And we will have some recruiting news and more thoughts on the Vols as they get things done in the bye week. I would certainly appreciate you. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe on the way out the door. We're live weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube and wherever you pod. He is Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.